Hi everybody, it's the Somatid Man, and I want to read you something because I'm going to talk about it. It's called By Design. By design, the Illuminati created and control human protests that can turn violent, so they can send in the military police to cause a larger problem. That's why I'm saying to everybody, do not protest. Am I telling that because I think we're free? No. I'm telling you that the Illuminati like when we argue and fight. Oh, we start out with good intention, but then the plants that are in the crowd start trouble. That brings in the military police. So they make an even larger problem because they're trying to help control it and get it back together. But now you've got a bigger problem because you've got to stop all the people that want to get out the hell out of their way so they can live. So I'm telling you, for the good of this nation, do not, I can't stress that enough, do not protest. They love it when you protest. They can hurt you so much and scare you with the riots. Don't get me wrong. I understand the intent. And I understand that you think you're doing positive to argue against something you feel is unjust. But they don't care. Just like you didn't vote for the president. That thing was already put together. They could have never gotten away with the stupid stuff that Trump did. Because Hillary was Secretary of the State. She knows what it really is about. So she knew she wasn't going to get elected. And they needed Trump so you can all laugh at him and everything he did while they did things behind your back. Some people have told me, now I don't know if this is a truth or a lie, but they had Trump there to play games with the people while they put one level of doctors and chemists together to start the first part of the virus. Now me, I don't know. I don't think that they would do something like that, but maybe they did. And they complained about Trump hiring and firing, and then hiring other people. Well, that was told to me by a couple of generals and one senator. I guess they're not all bad. That's why Trump got elected. They needed him to be the clown. So the people could go, look at him, what a president, sending Puerto Rico paper towels. We're laughing while they're building something along with England and Germany and Italy. Ireland and Sweden have gotten their asses kicked. England doesn't really have it too well either. And their whole ambition, I'm going to tell you now, is to take over the West. Oh, what the hell? They created it anyway. Your Illuminati are on both sides because they created it. When you have one country to the other, the Illuminati create both of them. How the hell do you think they create enemies and allies? It started long ago, all the way back to England, to Egypt, Babylonia, Rome, and so on. They created the countries. And one by one, they created what they wanted. Africa and China and everything. So they were able to create enemies and allies. Oh my. That's why all the countries were made. Because if you were just one big place, you'd have nothing that they would want to argue about for you to do. You're all the same. So now they've all got separate countries. And now they can all be allies or enemies, deciding who they want to be for what. But they control both sides, kids. They created Israeli and the Hamas war, but they're the same fake owners. I won't even say leaders, because they're beyond leaders. Aliens, elitists, whatever. They had us create this world. Oh, they started maybe with the dinosaurs doing the heavy lifting. If you watch the Flintstones, you'll see Fred Flintstone on one working. And then they created the cave beings who did work that people don't realize they actually did things. They weren't just put here and created to do nothing. So they did their work, one group at a time, who suddenly you couldn't find them. They disappeared. They just started to go on the other side of their evolution to die. No, they were exterminated. The aliens or whatever do not care a bit once your work is done. So there you are. Every country is now built. You've got enemies and allies. You don't even know why. They tell you that they're your enemy, but they never really give you a clear picture why. And with that in mind, we follow it anyway. We do it without question. Nothing. So now they've had their wars. Just like in 9/11 that Bush wanted a war, so he had cloaked the planes until they got to where they needed to go to blow everything up. But let me tell you, a plane couldn't do that. These buildings were blown up. These planes couldn't take those towers down. They already had bombs and whatever they were using to blow up those buildings. And with that in mind, that'll tell you that they created with the same group controlling everything with Iraq. So now Bush got his war. Everybody else connected to everybody else. Also population control. So here we go. We have our wars that we're addicted to. And we continue on. And we pass time. We get the technology. To build security in our country. We had everything covered. It's funny though, Germany wouldn't let anybody out. We won't let anybody in. So all the things that are happening, so people can't just get in our country. Oh, the moms, the dads, and the kids, they just want a better life. At least for now. But our problems are much bigger than that. I don't know if you know that the southern border has no longer anything to stop anybody from coming in. Oh, and you can say, oh, what the hell. But they're all young men. The Illuminati could very well have designed this for them to come in to our country and infiltrate it. I think Texas has already had problems. And they could actually be plants to do the things that they have to do. But one of the things people don't realize, if enough people come into our country, it's not America anymore. They've infiltrated, and as they infiltrate it, we don't know how much is really happening. So along with all of this, we no longer have a border, a southern border that's safe. Ask yourself why. Ask yourself, how come you didn't know about that? Ask yourself why I probably had to tell you. But that border should be closed. But it's open. Now, why aren't we arguing about this? Why are we letting them come right through? Because there's no border. No southern border. Infiltrating. Could very well start trouble in all the states. And with that, they cause hate and killing. Because we have no other way to protect ourselves because we allowed all of them in. We can't do that. We have to argue and complain and gripe or whatever you want to call it. And it has to be a country. It can't be us protesting. As I told you, protesting is no good. They can cause more trouble and cause all kinds of fear. So my point to you is, we have to become aware of what's happening and how they're letting people in. And this isn't just here. This is in Europe. They're trying to take over the West. In order to do that, they've got to have young men, soldiers, Illuminati soldiers, coming in through the southern border that's wide open. And they can go to all the states. All of them. Of course, they have to fit in. Do things like do jobs, do things that hide what they're really doing. If you take a regular job, but in the back of everything, you're part of the elitist group that are controlling the world. Now, they're just gophers, too. They're just violent gophers. They're doing their job. The more they infiltrate and they get work here behind our backs, they could be creating something just for us. Slowly take over that state, and once it's done, the fake leaders come into that state. And I mean eventually all the states, depending what they need and want done. So that's what happens with your border open. Imagine it completely open. No, they couldn't do that because we would have noticed. But we have to complain, not on the streets. We have to get connected to each other, and since the computer is really an AI, that's how it started in the first place, it was our first AI. It could commute with, let's try this again as an epileptic. They're able to talk to each other. So the bottom line is, we have to do this within our homes. And we have to no longer acquiesce. We have to have those borders closed. And not in this country, but all the countries. They're doing it everywhere. They're doing it because we're, again, so much toys. They're doing it because we didn't really understand in the first place. And there's your southern border, folks. Men coming in, well, I don't know, maybe they got some women soldiers or whatever, but being able to fake the people out and increasing their numbers by taking a job, by doing things like you normally would do in a state or a country. And then when it's time, they'll put themselves together and take over the streets and everything else. And they'll do it in the fashion of what they want to do it, possibly different states. I don't know. I doubt it'll be just the same everywhere. But there's your military in your streets, controlling your world. So your world is empty. You have to find out where you can get food, how you can live. Now that's because we allowed it to happen. Again, I can't stress enough. There's 8 billion people on this planet. We outnumber the elitists, the Illuminati, the aliens. They live off us. So we're workers, as I said before. So we have to stop letting them leaving borders clear so that anybody can get in. Sweden is really having a problem. So is Ireland. So are a bunch of them. Just like us. They don't realize that their border is open. And it's young men. You have to understand, why aren't there families? Why aren't there people that are trying to come in here to get a better life? How come they're all men, young men? Now, as I said before, as they infiltrate, they'll infiltrate, and slowly but surely, they'll have enough people in each state. And remember, these are evil beings, part of the Illuminati plan. And they're willing to do it. Of course, they're not very bright either. You get half an education. Well, you just can't understand they're going to take over the world. Dystopian problems will occur. Or a dystopia, whatever you want to call it. No, alright, I'm kidding. They're going to have a complete control. Your royal families are going to disappear because they won't be needed. Everything will be controlled. There really won't be any states anymore. And they really want to, as I said before, create technologically the population. It makes perfect sense to make us the same with no brain eventually. But we all do the heavy labor on the planet. Now, I'm not sure, but this sounds logical. All the real robots who can see through the cameras and all that will do the stuff going into space. Maybe back to their planet. Well, robots going to the planet. But they may do all the work out there. And as I said before, Elon Musk wants to cover the planet with satellites. Again, could it be radiation? Could it be a point of not seeing the universe? It could be many very crazy points. But the most important one to stop all this is no longer accept the fact that your borders are open. How ignorant do we have to be? That for years, the borders were closed. You had to come in, and you have to be seen and given the papers to come in, and either allowed or not allowed. Now there's no problem. Come on in. Hey, we need more population. Bring them all in. Hey, and they're young. They can get some jobs and help our economy. BS. The more that come in and the more that we don't notice, the more that just get regular jobs, but behind our backs has got a system that they're getting ready to take over the streets, do whatever they want. If they want food for you, they'll have food. I would assume they will, because they don't want you to die and not do any work. Still have to work. Eventually you'll be synthetic. But right now, you have to work. So eventually, creating technological beings, AIs. And there you have it. But I think a lot has to do with the fact of the infiltration of our country and other countries. I believe all of them will eventually be that way, so they can control everything. How about that? Synthetic AIs do whatever they tell you. You have no brain. Your brain is basically controlled. The hive setting. But if we let these beings come in, that's what we're going to get. Maybe even worse. I can't know everything. But the bottom line, that's what we're going to get. 8 billion people controlled by the few. And that's what we're going to get. Because eventually we won't have the capabilities to actually combine and grow together as human beings. And not let this happen. Refuse. I wrote a piece all about the women. They should refuse to work. Whoever could afford it. And I told them a little while is all it would take you, because the men don't know what the hell they're doing. And they'll be glad to give you freedom and fairness. And no more of this bullshit of they created men and them women. It's already put in the Bible as negative instead of positive as one. The women are second. Men are dumb enough not to realize that that's their other half, to create one. To love each other. Create a group of family that loves each other, cares about each other. The human race understands that they should be loving the human race. That's the most important thing. For us to all love each other. No negativity. No more bombing and blowing shit up. They had a couple of episodes of MASH where people actually had lost their balance. One, Hawkeye did, if you know who he is, the doctor. He had this pilot that had to land his plane. So he had to land, and he found MASH. He got there and said, "Hey, buddy, my plane went down, and I had to get out of it, and so I could use, boy, my brain goes sometimes, a parachute to get down. So now I'm down." And he says to him, as they're walking, Your boots are all red. What have you been walking in?" And he said, "Blood." He said, "Yeah, it must be pretty tough for you guys." But everything goes along. He has him carry the other side of the stretcher. And eventually he comes in after a while, and he sees them working on a little girl. Because what he said to Hawkeye was, "I managed to drop my load." But he had no idea what he was doing. So that when he saw that girl, he was crying. He was so upset, and he could never be a pilot again. Another man was so damaged that he became Jesus Christ. So your brain can go in many different ways in a war. Because when you find out what you're doing, and you use your brain and you think about it, because there is a part of your brain that actually goes, "What the hell are they doing? I don't know if I'm going to do this." Then, like I said, that other side is let's go kill. We don't know who we kill. We've never met. So the bottom line, hand-to-hand combat. Why? Why? Why aren't we bright enough to realize we're being lied to? And my kitty's talking to me, but I want him to shut up. And the bottom line is, I didn't say that for nothing. Now I'm going to connect it right back. After all this horror and all this war and all we've put up to and accepted, up with, excuse me. This is a different kind of war. It's a sneaky, underhanded, very dark war. A manipulation of the people not noticing war. At least in those wars, they could see and kill each other and bomb each other. This war is psychological. As they slowly infiltrate. You have no notice, no idea, because there's nothing really going to happen, as I believe. I could be wrong. But that border's open. Anybody could come on in. Now, if I were them, I would definitely go to each state and prepare to take it over. At the same time, all over. And the world as well. To finish this job in the West. And having control of China and Russia and such. And controlling Europe. You no longer live in any freedom. Even if you were just human. Although they may do that too. It's more suffering. But either way, they're going to try and take over this whole world. Get enough infiltration, excuse me. And it happens behind our back. Then all of a sudden, you've got troops in the streets. Very many military controlling your state. And what are you going to do about it? You waited too long. You didn't pay attention. You didn't complain and question and say you want that border closed. Eventually all the borders will be open everywhere. Completely. Because there'll really be no thing that we can do to stop everything from coming in. And that also goes for Canada and everywhere else. That's the best way to create a one world control. You confuse the people, make them afraid, make them lost, tell them you're protecting them, and then open the southern border, do all these different things, and we just keep on going with cable and whatever else they got to play with for toys. And they know it. They've given it to us to preoccupy us while they infiltrate the country. I don't know if anybody's going to talk about this. The most important thing is somebody listens and understand. If you want to keep your freedom, you're going to have people understand that that border is open. And there are young men coming through, young enough to get through here in all the states, and like I said, take regular jobs, I believe, because you couldn't come in with the military right away. You have to have a feeling of freedom. And if they make sure all the states think they're free, they can surprise them, find out they never were. So my point to you is, we as a race have to get it together. Everyone. We have to understand that we're all one. And it doesn't matter what you are. Russian, Chinese, United States. It doesn't matter. What matters is we understand throughout this world that they're making it easier to manipulate our world by infiltrating our countries and eventually going to take over out of nowhere, by the way. And you'll find troops and you'll find information on the cable. You'll find all of this, and no one will be able to come out I'm not sure how they're going to do this, because they still have us, after done with taking over control, to work. We're workers after all. You just won't have a life. You'll have a control, and you'll have a thing that you have to do that you're trained for. But being trained for something and going to work and then going home and staying home for a few hours and going to bed, waking up and do the same thing over and over again, at least that's in your control. I myself, I'm not sure how they're going to do it, but they're going to get the workers to work and then have them go home, if that's what you want to call it, and can come and do the same thing the next day, just like it always did. But they'll have soldiers in the streets everywhere, and you will go to work, and then you'll come home when it's time. Now, you're going to have to do what you're told if you want to eat. You'll have to do what you're told if you want to live somewhere. You'll have to do what you're told for anything. And that'll be what you gave future generations as a present. History may disappear because we're either going to be synthetic, and I'm not quite sure about that. I think they'd rather have us as human beings, because then we can think and do what we're told. They may take away, since they created our brain, any possibility of thinking anything except doing what they're told. But I don't know for sure if they're going to make actual robots. What's the point? I believe they'll do the same thing, but they'll do it in a different fashion, because the military will control the world. But you still got to work. You got to listen to everything they say and do it, or you won't eat or live. And that'll be your life, because you allowed all these lousy, evil beings in, so they could all of a sudden, because they were already connected to each other and what they were supposed to do, all of a sudden, when the Illuminati thought it was the right time, and everything had been taken over, it was time to show themselves. To show all your infiltrated soldiers, or whatever they were, that your life is now over. But it ain't going to end like those other wars. This is going to be the final one, because they've got every country completely controlled, because it was infiltrated and no longer was really what it was. So everything will be the same. Am I wrong? God, I hope so. But everything will be the same. We allowed it to happen. Right now we're allowing it to happen. Slowly but surely. But that's my belief. Why else would you open the border? Unless you wanted to infiltrate it and completely take it over after a certain time, because all these beings that are going in there have a certain job to do, but they know they have to get regular jobs so it can be put together. Don't forget that. I think I've said it enough. Just remember, this will happen. I can guarantee it. It's already happening. But this is worse. Think of 9/11 where they cloaked the planes, but they really had explosives in those buildings, and that's how they were really blown up. Don't ever believe that those planes did that much damage. They couldn't. But again, Bush wanted this war. Scared the people, killed 86,000 people. Did their job. Now, if they really cared about us, why would that happen? And then again, since it happened, we're supposed to have had the strongest military in the world. How did 3 planes get through? Because they were cloaked. Nobody could see them. So as they got to their target, out of nowhere they came and they took out the towers. But they didn't take out the towers. The towers were blown up. And I'm sure they had it set for time when that plane hit the building, everything would explode. But if you look carefully, how in the hell can that happen? They could hit the top, but how in the hell is an explosion going to happen to that intense unless it was already set up to blow up? But the people were so shocked they never knew or thought or understood science. Those buildings were blown up. The fake illusion was thinking those planes took out all of it to the bottom. I can't tell you anymore. I had a friend named William Cooper. He wrote a book, Behold the Pale Horse. He and his father found out aliens were running the military. Now, if that's the case, they could do what they did. And that's what William was saying. His father was a general. Thank goodness he got the hell out of there before they killed him. William was going to go on my show, Behold, the Conscious Awareness Show, and talk to us about all this. They killed him before he could get here. His father escaped. I'm happy for him. I never saw him, but I never heard about him dying. If that's the point, then it would be very simple to do what I just said. Because the military was controlled by aliens, or the Illuminati, or whatever you want to call them. They do what they're told. But in this case, it's not just doing what they're told. They have a program for each state so they could take over at the same time and have the soldiers come out and do their job. And from then on, this world will no longer be anything but one large farm, as I called it. And everybody will do their technological jobs or their jobs in the fields. That's because you don't question anything. Why is the southern border open? There's nothing more I can tell you. So I hope you listened. I tried not to rant. I did repeat myself, but there are times I did it by design, on purpose, to get a certain point across. But I wish you well, and I hope that you'll wake up to the reality of what I just told you, and think, and tell everybody you know, and let everybody know that they need to get together on the computers, not out in the streets. No protests. Big mistake. They can destroy our country sooner. Don't protest. Work together on computers so everybody knows what's going on. This way, if we refuse to do it, they have to get a hell of a lot of aliens here and Illuminati. There aren't that many. So if you refuse to do it, now I'm not talking violence here. I'm just saying I am no longer going to acquiesce what you want me to do, old daddy alien, or whatever you are. And I'm no longer afraid of you. I'm here to connect with all my fellow extended family. And female. I don't want to leave them out. Everybody's woman. And take control of our lives before it's too late. Well, good night and good luck.